Okay, disclaimer. This is just a funny little teehee haha comedy video, so don't take any of the things I say here too seriously. At the end of the day, this is all just jokes, and I would never wish harm or malice on any particular person or entity. Sir, another Valkyrie video has hit the subscription box. So before I made my last video, I decided to binge watch a lot of the Battle Nations content on YouTube that people have uploaded since I posted my last video, because I needed a little bit of inspiration. And I noticed that one of the more prevalent themes between all of them was sort of analyzing what killed Battle Nations, and it was sort of like a post-mortem analysis of what happened to the original 2011 to 2016 run of Battle Nations, and to Z2 Live as well. But what immediately stood out to me was that there was a very important aspect related to the rise and fall of Battle Nations that everyone seemingly forgot about and failed to mention in their videos. Even in my own retrospective video I made right after Battle Nations was shut down in 2016, we all seemingly missed one critical detail. Me. Like, hello, what am I, chopped liver? But on a slightly more serious note, there was a particular incident that occurred around the turn of the new year in 2014 that they all seemingly brushed aside and forgot to mention. They nerfed the boom bus! That was the day I became Z2's #1 op, and the crash out was legendary. I swore that Z2 would either unnerf the boom bus or be destroyed. In a fit of righteous indignation over the nerfing of my favorite unit, I used my platform to make our voices heard. And for that I was immediately banned off the forums. Now, to the person that did it, you know who you are. I'm not gonna go around naming names or pointing fingers. We know I can't say that. It was Cool Ranch. Fun fact, that was actually the second time I got banned from the Battle Nations forum by Cool Ranch. The first time was when I made a gay joke, which he banned me for because it was, and I quote, homophobic. I had a My Little Pony profile picture at the time. Truly, I've always been years ahead of my time. Bruh, if Cool Ranch is actually somehow still involved with Battle Nations, I might actually be cooked. Because that guy was like my biggest op. Look, I don't want to come off as salty or anything, cause I'm really not. But just saying, Z2's community outreach wasn't the greatest. They could have made so much money if they instead just bribed me to make more unit reviews. No, but in all seriousness, watching all those Battle Nations retrospective videos really made me ask myself, what did kill Battle Nations? Spoiler alert, it was me. To answer that question, we first need to do a little background research on the original developers, Z2 Live, and learn how they managed to fumble what was perhaps the easiest bag of all time. Z2 was founded in 2009.
I don't care! Render to Caesar what is Caesar's!
In 2010, they released their first game, Trade Nations, which is basically Battle Nations, minus everything that makes the game good.
God, what do you do in this game? What you do here, I don't know either, because this game is like one of the most pointless games ever. What am I even doing here? This is freaking stupid.
And this was still somehow a major success. Look, it was a different time. But following the initial success of Trade Nations, the company received additional investment from... Wait a minute. Madrona? Time is a flat circle. But then in 2011, they released Battle Nations. They later expanded the company by acquiring Biggie Cheese Games, a Vancouver-based company. And in 2015, they were acquired by King, and you know the rest. Honestly, I really don't need to read out everything that happened to Z2 over the years, though I kinda recommend that you do, because it is kinda interesting. But only kinda. After all, this is Z2 we're talking about here.
That's right. Coming soon to the guild store.
Honestly, what's more important is what isn't written here on the Wikipedia page. Because what isn't written here is more than anything probably what actually sunk the USS intellectual property. Even more so than the legendary sandworms, the pay-to-win model, the boss strike grindfest, the secret vaults, or even that stupid arena thing. Across the entire internet, there is yet one unresolved question related to Battle Nations' downfall that everyone seemingly fails to address. I'm of course referring to the SQ. Which of course refers to the sequel question. But to resolve the sequel question, we must first go back to 2014. On Friday, January 17th, 2014, at 2:36 p.m., a cryptic message was posted to the official Battle Nations forum entitled, "I've seen too much." The only context added to this message was, "Cannot unsee. Anyone else sub to the Z2 YouTube channel?" Naturally, no one understood what this post was in reference to, but just hours later, video evidence of what was apparently leaked test footage of an in-development sequel to Battle Nations began to spread all across the forums. The videos showed, frankly, awful and disastrous gameplay footage that made the prospect look really bad. By comparison, it made the alpha build of Madrona Battle Nations look like a polished masterpiece.
Excuse me? Wait. No, no way. That's not gonna be completely broken at all. Now let's try out the Arsonist. Wait, isn't this guy supposed to have like 2 attacks? And wait, what?
This sequel would only be known as Battle Nations 2, but it would later be rebranded as Rise of Tyrants, which would go on to be such a failure that it doesn't even show up on Z2's or King's Wikipedia page, and would only ever be released on the Canadian App Store, before quickly being shut down. Now, in case you never heard of Rise of Tyrants, because you live in a real country, it was literally just Battle Nations but in 3D, and it sort of had like a D&D initiative-based turn order, and your units could move in between turns. Yeah, they made an entire new game just for that. Groundbreaking stuff, I know. That was quickly seen as the obvious betrayal that it was. Why would Z2 secretly develop a sequel to a video game that they were still in the process of developing?
Guild store.
It's kinda like opening up an exact replica of your restaurant right next door to the original.
Hello, I like money.
In case it's not obvious to you why this is a bad thing, let me explain it to you in simple terms. Developing a game costs money. That money could have been better spent making Battle Nations 1 a better game, and attracting more players, instead of making a new version of Battle Nations from scratch, but in 3D. Imagine all the pay-to-win boss strike units we could have had. Many longtime players were then forced to ask themselves, why keep spending money on a game whose developers are already planning to replace it? I know from personal experience that it was around this time that a lot of veteran players began to leave the game. And there's no doubting that this contributed to Z2's increasingly desperate attempts to milk money from their few remaining cash cows. Now, I'm no business expert. I only have a bachelor's degree in business administration. But I would imagine that this leak would have been a devastating scandal, not just for Z2's finances, but for their investors in particular. After all, why would anybody put stock into a company that A. loses the trust of their customers, B. diverts funds to risky ventures instead of existing lucrative ones, and C. can't be bothered to set a highly confidential top-secret video on YouTube to private? Now, I can't say for sure that this is exactly what happened. Obviously, I wasn't there at the building at the time. Now, it doesn't exactly say on the Wikipedia page, but Z2 was making millions from private investment alone. Madrona Group invested $3 million in 2009 alone, and another million a year before that. And who knows how many more millions after that. And they weren't alone. In 2011, they were joined by, Smitty Werben Jagerman Jensen, who also invested millions over the years. And yet, just 1 year after the leak, almost to the day, Z2 would end up being acquired by King, and Battle Nations, the real one, would from then on be put on life support, while Rise of Tyrants would be smothered in the crib. Wow, way to go, Z2. Now, I don't have access to their stock history or their balance sheets, so I couldn't tell you how bad they were doing financially. While a basic Google search will tell you that Z2 was acquired by King for $150 million, if you look more closely, the real amount is actually just $45 million, with the other $105 million being contingent on Z2's game performance. Which, as we all know, yeah.
And you know how much that is? Nothing!
Now, to put things in perspective, Z2 at its peak was racking in almost 20 mil a year. And while King's buyout would be a little over double that amount, in my opinion at least, it wouldn't have really been worth the loss of freedom, especially since we all know how that ended up. Now, is it possible that the leak ultimately had no impact on whether Z2 would end up selling out to King? Sure, maybe. But it's not implausible that this abysmal debacle might have scared away current and potential future investors, which, combined with Battle Nation's declining numbers in the year of 2014, may have driven a desperate and declining company into the arms of a hungry corporation looking to gobble up talent. Could a sequence of cause and effect, therefore, be drawn, linking this leak to Z2's ultimate dissolution at the hands of Activision Blizzard King? Also, yes. Now, as far as I know, Z2 wasn't a publicly traded company, so it's not like King decided one day to just buy out all the stock in a hostile takeover, sort of like how Elon bought out Twitter. Instead, the owners of Z2 willingly came to an agreement to sell out to King. One must therefore wonder what the internal state of affairs must have been when they came to this decision. But it seems plausible to me that this scandal might have caused a lot of Z2's initial private investment to pull out. At the very least, it's probably safe to say that they are in such a tight pinch financially that they were willing to sell out. They wasted so much money on all these flops. Battle Nations 2 leaking was probably the final straw. I guess only Z2 could really answer that question. But as we all know, because from this point on, it was all downhill. But this ultimately begs the question, who was this mysterious leaker? Me! It was me! I leaked the test footage. The video was public on YouTube for like 1 minute, and I just happened to be looking at my subscription box at the exact moment that video went up. And after seeing that, I did what any rational and logical person would do. I downloaded that joint immediately and started sharing it around. Now, that's not entirely true. I initially chose not to post the video everywhere, since despite everything, I still genuinely did want Z2 to succeed. And my gosh, was that footage atrocious. I initially only shared the video with my guildmates on our secret guild forum. I believe I was with the elite Imperial soldiers at the time, and we all watched the footage and were outraged by this egregious betrayal. And yet, we still exercised discretion, and kept it to ourselves. What did cause the dam to break was when one of you, yes, you, watching the video right now, I know it was you. I won't say who it was for real, but you know who you are, Greek alphabetical character. It was when I sent the video to this person that the video was spread all across the forums and all hell broke loose. I told him not to share it with anybody, but he did it anyway. So yeah, actually now that I think of it, this is actually all your fault. Z2 of course would remain quiet about the elephant in the room, until 4 days after the leak, we got this gem. This one's so funny I might actually read the whole thing. Rumor has it someone left a video set to public on YouTube. Oops.
No. Wait.
What you saw was a prototype of a game similar in feel to Battle Nations. The loading screen called it Battle Nations 2 because it was inspired by Battle Nations and because we're bad at naming prototypes. This game is in no way a sequel.
Read my lips.
No new wars.
Yeah, never mind the fact that it has the exact same overall art style, and the fact that it explicitly says it takes place in the Battle Nations universe. Here at Z2, Battle Nations continues to be our top priority.
Really, Nick?
Battle Nations completely shut down just 2 years after this happened, by the way. I'll leave the rest of the post here on the screen for you to read. Feel free to pause the video if you need to. It's frankly hilarious, but in a pathetic sort of way. But since Z2 seem to be taking everything on the chin... Wait, pause? Since they seem to be at least pretending to be chill about it, I figured I would be okay if I made a video about it. I would later upload a CinemaSin-style parody video clowning on how bad the test footage looked. It would later be taken down by... well, you can guess who. Supposedly it was taken down for community guidelines violations. But if I try to figure out what exactly I was violating, it won't say. Really transparent, YouTube. There was also no way to appeal it, which was extremely sus. Honestly, now that both Rise of Tyrants and Z2 are long gone, I could probably upload the thing right now and get away with it. But then again, it is a CinemaSins parody. I don't need to contribute any more cringe slop to the internet. Shortly after that, I was also banned from the forums for the third and final time. And then, for a while, nothing happened. It seemed as if Battle Nations was going to carry on normally. Well, as normally as a decomposing husk would be. They did several more boss strikes, which, if you're into that sort of thing, more power to you, I guess. You do you. And they released several more slop updates with boring missions. And then, almost a year to the day after the leak, Z2 was acquired by King. Incidentally, it was 1 day before the acquisition that they took my video down.
Really makes you think.
But, as we all know, King would later force Z2 to shift their focus to, other ventures. And we all know how that ended up. The last patch for Battle Nations 4.8 would be released in May of 2015, and in 2016, Battle Nations would be shut down for good. Rise of Tyrants would be released and very quickly shut down that same year. And in 2019, Activision would finally pull the plug and put Z2 out of their misery. And this brings us back to our original question. Who really did kill Battle Nations? I did it. I killed Battle Nations. You think that stupid little king, the people that made Candy Crush, were the ones who killed Z2? No, I did. It was me. It was always me. It was only me. It only ever could have been me. I leaked the test footage and set into motion their inevitable downfall.
And I'm proud!
Did you really think you could nerf the boom bus and get away with it? This is a confession. Your Honor, I plead guilty.
今日キルアちゃんに勝って6勝。そしてあと3回同じようなカモを見つけて勝てばフロアマスターね。それで俺の一生の富と名声が約束される。
動くと殺す。念を使うと殺す。声を出しても殺す。
I did it. Alright, I admit it. What can you say? You mess with the bull, you get the horns. First they take my booms away from me, then they took my forum account. I got so much anger in me, got no way to take it out. Think I'm stuck in the Matrix. Where the freak's my nanos? Yeah, I'm the villain. They don't understand the things I say on YouTube. But Valkyrie, how could you say such a thing?
I'm evil. I am an evil person.
I was 15 years old when this all happened, by the way. I single-handedly brought down a world-renowned, multi-million-dollar corporation before I was even old enough to drive. What have you done? You call yourselves revolutionaries? You think you're fighting the power? If anything, I'm the real resistance if you think about it.
I'm finished.
Now, you're probably all wondering, what was the point of this video? Well... Now, Madrona. I noticed the boom bus is currently not in the game, and that's fine. But if it was to make an appearance, it would be a shame if it was still nerfed.